Right, today we're going to go through why there should be no reason that you're behind in 2026. And the topics that we're going to cover is one, information is free, ignorance is now a choice. The internet has erased the unfair advantage. Geography is no longer an excuse. If you're still lost, then AI will give you the blueprint, and there's no excuse to be unhealthy. I kind of chucked in the last one because I feel like in today's day and age where we have so much information about diet, exercise, what to eat, what not to eat, the things that you can do to keep your body healthy, there's really no reason to be overweight, fat, too skinny, all that stuff, because if you want to level up your life, you also have to fix your body. You know, your body's your temple, you only have one body. It's literally the engine that makes things happen. And if that's not healthy, you feel sluggish, you don't really feel like doing anything, then it's gonna be hard to implement the things that I'm trying to teach you guys today. So I'll put it in last so you kind of get the blueprint, and then obviously at the very end, I'll teach you just a bit of the basics of just how not to be fat. Without further ado, we'll go to the first one. So information is free and ignorance is now a choice. Back in the day, information had gatekeepers. So if you wanted to learn a business, your family would already need to be in business. If you wanted to learn a skill, you would have had to pay for school or someone to teach you. If those options didn't exist, then you would have had to go to a library if you had one. And even then, you would be lucky to have a book about the topic that you're trying to learn. There was no Google, there was no YouTube, there was no forums, there was no vlogs. Those were literally the only options you had of collecting information. So in saying that, the barrier to entry just to learn anything or get information was genuinely high. But now that excuse is dead because you can literally search anything on the internet. So with the internet, you can literally search anything that you want online. If you wanted to learn marketing, if you wanted to learn coding, if you wanted to learn graphic design, if you wanted to learn sales, if you wanted to learn, how to feed a horse, you can literally type anything online on YouTube and you'll get hundreds of videos for free. If you want to go to say a bit deeper on a specific topic, marketing, sales, graphic design, whatever it is, you have websites like Udemy, you have websites like Coursera. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't used Coursera before, but I'm pretty sure Coursera gives you certificates that you can use to apply for jobs. There's things like Skillshare, there's things like Khan Academy. And on top of that, if you find, say, a YouTuber that you really like, who's really an expert in a niche that you really want to get into, more than likely, if they're from a educating sort of YouTube channel where they're teaching you stuff, more than likely they'll have a consulting link in the bio to speak to them for like an hour or something about whatever questions you have, or they probably have like a course on something that you wanted to learn. So you have those avenues, and normally it's relatively cheap. I'm assuming consulting would be a bit more expensive, but like I said, with Udemy, Coursera, Skillshare, Khan Academy, you can normally find courses for like $20, $30, and that's normally, I would say, a bit deeper than the free content that you'll find in YouTube. And let's say you wanted to learn things while you're doing your laundry, you're washing the dishes, you're commuting. There's things called podcasts that you can listen to. So there's Diary of a CEO, there's More Than Wisdom, there's Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan, I guess, sort of pioneered the podcasting space, and there's a lot of experts that have been on his podcast that, if you wanted to learn certain things, you can listen to those. My favorite ones is the Mushroom Guy and the Sleep Guy, Matthew Walker, I think his name is. And then obviously he's got a plethora of guests from all different expertise and backgrounds, from MMA, comedy. So any topic that you want to learn about, more than likely he'll have someone on there that's expert. So just to recap, you've got YouTube, you can search anything. You got paid platforms to learn things like I said, Udemy, Coursera, Skillshare, Khan Academy. And if you wanted to learn while you're doing other stuff, or you're just commuting, or you just don't have a physical book or a thinger, you can listen to podcasts, and they're all free, most of it. So if you're behind, it's not really because the information wasn't available, it's because you chose Instagram over education. And I can guarantee you guys, if you go to your phone right now and look at your screen time, minimum, I reckon if you haven't done anything within like the past 6 months to a year, you probably have 8 hours to 10 hours of screen time every single day. And if I asked you, can you give me 5 things that you've learned from those 10 hours or anything that stood out to you from watching those 10 hours of content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I can guarantee you can't even name me 3. It's because we keep fucking doing this and it's just feeding our brains with literal garbage, and before you know it, you've lost 10 hours of your day. You go to sleep, you feel like shit, you wake up and the cycle continues. So it's not that there's no information out there, it's because you're spending your time, your money, your energy elsewhere, which is more than likely just shit short form content. So I suggest you stop that. All right, point number 2 is the internet has erased the unfair advantage. So back in the day, there was a massive price of entry. So capital, connections, a brick and mortar store, money that you probably did not have. If you didn't come from a rich background, so no rich parents, if you didn't finish school or had, win the lottery, you basically had no other option, right? But the thing is, the internet blew that door wide open. So in today's day and age, you can set up a Shopify store and sell products within a day or a couple of days. You can flip goods on Facebook Marketplace. You can film yourself on your phone, like what I'm doing now. You can build an audience, and with that audience comes sponsorships and ad revenue from companies and people that want to reach the eyeballs that you're attracting. And I want you guys to understand is that this was not possible 15 to 20 years ago. If you wanted to get in front of an audience, you would have had to be someone with a certain skill set or being famous for whatever reason. It's actually crazy how many people you can reach today just by holding your phone like this and be like, "What up, gang? We're here at blah, 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 blah." And then if people like you, they keep watching, you build an audience, you be consistent. And the next thing you know, you're like a mini celebrity in your own niche. And with that following and those eyeballs comes money from, as I mentioned, sponsorships, ad revenue, and then eventually maybe you make your own merchandise, or you have your own digital product, or you have your own makeup line. Because the thing is, and people don't understand this, maybe they do, I don't know. But this is the attention economy. If you have attention to yourself, whether good or bad, there's been a lot of people who've had really bad attention from doing dumb stuff, and from the looks of it, they're fine and they're making money. So if you can somehow cultivate eyeballs, attention to yourself, more than likely you will be compensated monetarily. Back in the day, as I mentioned, you would have needed a lot of capital, a brick and mortar store, most likely a really good education to be even able to start something from scratch. But now you got your phone, you got the internet, you got Facebook Marketplace. Like, you don't even need to film yourself. You can literally find someone on Facebook Marketplace that's having like I'm moving out today, need these items gone ASAP, and they sell a table for $5, you can flip for 30. There's like a couch for $50, you can sell for 100. There's so many avenues to make money today that you would really need to be stupid, for lack of a better word, to not make money off what's available to you. You don't need a storefront, you don't need startup capital, maybe a little bit, not that much. You don't really need connections. You don't really need a family business to inherit. You just need a phone, a Wi-Fi, and the willingness to actually do something. And I want you guys to understand is that there's been more millionaires in the past 10 years, 20 years than there's been in the history of mankind. So let that sink in. And it's all because of this wonderful thing we call the internet. All right, so the third point is geography is no longer an excuse. And where you're born no longer determines your ceiling. And I want you to guys understand that I said ceiling, not starting point. Like, we all have different starting points. Obviously, if you're born in Mogadishu, it's gonna be a bit hard. I don't know what's going on there. I just watched Black Hawk Down 2 days ago with my girlfriend, and yeah, it doesn't look nice. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I'm gonna use the Philippines as an example because I was born there. In the 1990s, if you were a Filipino, your options were either get a degree, go overseas, become a nurse, make money overseas. It's either that or you become a politician, because politicians are very highly paid. in the Philippines. That was essentially your options. Today, a kid in Manila, like I said, I'm gonna use the Philippines, a kid in Manila with a laptop and a Wi-Fi access has somewhat the same opportunities as someone sitting in New York or Sydney. So geography used to be a life sentence, and now it's basically just a starting point. Obviously, if I had the choice, I would rather be born in America. In terms of opportunity wise, if I had the choice, I would rather be born in, say, Sydney or New York rather than, say, Manila. But the point I'm trying to make here is that your skills can now cross borders. So if you have a skill in marketing, if you have a skill in graphic design, if you have a skill in video editing, you don't really need to be physically at that location to get paid. So you can reach out to people on Upwork, Fiverr, or you can even cold email people. If you find a company, more than likely they'll have an email on the website or the Instagram page. You can shoot your shot, be like, hey, I do X, Y, and Z. I can help you do blah 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 in your business. Would you be down for a quick meeting? Something like that. You can sell your services to companies worldwide and get paid in a higher currency like Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, USD, all that stuff there. So this kind of goes back to one point. Like I said, we have different starting points, but the point I'm trying to make here is that the ceiling has never been higher. So just because you're born in a country that's not first world does not mean you can't get jobs outside your country. VAs, for example, there's a lot of companies in the US that want to have virtual assistants that do the email, set up the schedules, and it's normally people from Asian countries. And the thing is, to the American people that pay these VAs, to them, they're giving peanuts, but then to the VAs that live in the Philippines where cost of living isn't as high and minimum wage is abysmal, that is a lot of money. So it works both ways. The internet basically monetizes everything if you're creative enough. I keep saying the point I'm trying to make here, but it is the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that this was not possible 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Back in the day, if you wanted to earn money, you would have had to do it the traditional way, which is go to school, get a degree, and hopefully someone hires you and gives you a decent wage. Now, there's so many avenues. That's the point I'm trying to make clear to you guys, is that you got to be creative. If you just think to yourself, how can I provide value? And value could be in the forms of a product, a service, entertainment. If you just think in terms of how can I provide value to a certain number of people or to a certain niche or to a company whatsoever, money will always follow you. So it doesn't matter if you're a comedian, you sell a service, you do massage, like anything, as long as you provide value, you will make money. I want you guys to understand that. And the third and final point before we move on is that if you're in a first world country, you really have no excuse. People in developing countries are making it work. So what's your excuse? And I guess a sort of a hot take that I have is that if you're in a first world country, there's really no reason that you're behind. Like, I don't want to hear, or I didn't have a fucking great family growing up, or, the system failed me, or I've been screwed over so many times. Like, the way that first world countries are set up is that if you put your head down and you do the work, and this is my genuine belief. Obviously, there's other circumstances like drug addiction or abuse and all that stuff. I'm not trying to go there. I'm just talking for like the general guy that's behind in life and you live in a first world country. That should not happen. That really should not happen. I'm gonna go off topic a little bit, and I'm gonna use the Philippines again because I'm from the Philippines and I see how everything works. I was born and raised there, came to Australia when I was 14, and I still go back home once or twice a year. If you're in the hood in the Philippines and you can't go to school, you can't get a decent job, you're basically fucked. Like, you're fucked. You have no other option rather than, doing minuscule jobs here and there. If you're somewhat behind in, say, Australia or America, you can get like a fast food job. You can get fucking 2 jobs. Like, people will employ you. In the Philippines, to work at Jollibee, you need a college degree, I'm pretty sure, unless they've lowered the standards. And if I'm not mistaken as well, there was also a height requirement. I could be wrong. I've seen it somewhere. But I'm just trying to paint a picture of how good people have it in first world countries. So it's a hot take for some people. I don't think it's a hot take, but I really do feel like if you're living in a first world country, you should not be behind. Anyway, point number 4 is if you're still lost, then AI will give you the blueprint. AI is the mentor most people never had. If you don't have a rich uncle, you don't have a fucking business coach, you don't have a consultant, you can literally open up Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, whatever it is, your AI of choice. You can literally type in, this is my life, this is where I want to go, these are my skills, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and it will literally give you a personalized roadmap in seconds. What would have cost you 1,000 hours of research, consulting, doing this, doing that, AI will literally give you a blueprint within like a minute. I'll literally put into Claude, this is my current life, give it a bit of background. I came to Melbourne when I was 18, didn't really have a lot of money, had to work 2 jobs, blah, blah, blah. These are my current skills, this is my current job, my physique, this is what I do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, this is what I like to eat, this is where I want to be. I wanted to make this much of money each single month. In 5 years, I want to be here. My current trajectory is this. Can you please give me a blueprint on what I need to do day to day, weekly, monthly, and also give me a roadmap for the next 5 years? And Claude literally go boop, 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 and then gives me literally the play for the next 5 years. Obviously, there's things that I question, I ask them back. You could not do that 5 years ago. Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You would have needed like a fucking consultant who charged you $200 an hour and probably would have asked you, oh, what was your childhood like? You know, how did you grow up? Like, I don't need that. I just want to be, okay, this is where I am. This is where I'm trying to be. This is the money I'm trying to make. This is the impact that I want to have. This is the respect, the status, blah, 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 blah. Give me a blueprint and it will spit out something for you. AI is literally there to give you the blueprint. So I don't want to hear, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, should I do sales? Should I do marketing? Oh, maybe if I go to school and take out a student loan and get this job. Forget all that. Go to your AI of choice, type in what I said, and you will have a blueprint. Just a quick recap. So I've mentioned why there's no excuse to not have information in today's day and age. I've explained why the internet has erased the unfair advantage of how, you know, back in the day, you would have needed a lot of money or this or that, but now you just need Facebook Marketplace, Shopify, blah, 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 blah. I've already covered that geography is no longer an excuse. You have somewhat the same opportunities as, you know, someone that lives in a first world country, even if you live in a shit country. Point 4 is, you know, if you're still fucking lost and you didn't get any of the first 3 points, then AI will give you the blueprint as to what you need to do day to day, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and the roadmap for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. All right, and the last one is there's no excuse to be unhealthy. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, in today's day and age, where there's an abundance of information on diet, exercise, what to eat, what not to eat, you cannot be a fat slob. You just cannot. You cannot be overweight. You can't be just going to your job and coming home and just watching Netflix. Like, you need activity. If you're fat and overweight, it's literally a choice. I don't want to hear, oh, I'm big bone, or I don't want to hear, oh, if I just see chocolate, I gain weight. I don't want to hear all that. There's so much info in the internet on how not to be fat. Like, I'm not even asking you to be built or be a power lifter or run a fucking marathon. I'm just asking you, at the very least, to not be fat. Don't be a fat slob, don't be overweight, and don't be too skinny either. Like, you don't want a typhoon to come back and then you fly away along with your roof. Like, you don't want that. So if you're really skinny, then, you know, bulk up, go to the gym. If you can't afford a gym, fucking do calisthenics, go to a park, do some push-ups, do some pull-ups, do some dips. Yeah, so basically, ignorance about your health in 2026 is a choice, just like ignorance about money is. So as you guys can tell, I'm trying to cover like the whole scope of, I guess, personal development, or at least like a starting point. So I'm trying to tell you that, you know, you can look up information on the internet. I'm trying to tell you that, you know, back in the day, you didn't have an option, but now you can search for anything online. I'm trying to tell you that where you're situated no longer really determines your ceiling, not your starting point, your ceiling. I'm trying to tell you that, you know, if you're still fucking lost, if you're still thinking they're like, oh, I don't know, I still don't know what to do, man, I don't know. Then, you know, you can go onto your AI of choice and type in the things that I told you to type in. And lastly, your body is a reflection of your standards. So if you can't manage your body, the one thing that you have complete control over, because contrary to popular belief, or other people would say like, oh, I'm big bone, or I've got this sort of I was born with this illness where I see food and I gain weight. Your body is controlled by your brain, and your brain is controlled by you. That piece of fucking chocolate does not enter your mouth if your brain decides it's not gonna enter your mouth. Your body doesn't naturally override the system and picks up the chocolate and you eat it, and then you're like, oh, I didn't want to eat the chocolate, but my body made me do it. No, you control your body because you control your brain, and your brain controls everything. Okay, so I don't want to hear, I couldn't really do anything. That piece of chocolate was just staring at me, and so I had to eat it. Alright guys, so that's pretty much the video for today. If you have any questions, you can pop them down below. If this video helped you, then you can subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.